Hi everybody, this is a blue and black reanimator deck that was inspired by all of the tokens you see running around. Sometimes I get tired of blocking infinite might tokens, small, piddly creatures that I don't really have a lot of respect for. And so Toxrill needed to come out of retirement one last time, the old Toxfather himself, and play in this reanimator style deck. So taking a look at the top, we've got Toxrill at 3 copies to take care of all these little weenie creatures that are running around. We've got some classic reanimation targets in Jin-Gitaxias that lets us copy our instants and sorceries, and also lets us copy our artifacts, namely our next card, Phyrexian Fleshgorger, which is very fun to say. We can get a couple of copies of whatever mode we choose to cast on this card when old Jin-Gitaxias is out. We've also got a few copies of Dusk Mangler just for the sacrifice kind of discard effect, sort of a catch-all reanimation target. You can kind of up the numbers of the other things if Dusk Mangler's not quite your thing. And then I've added a few copies of Sheoldred as well. Sheoldred's a good all-around card, but it kind of fills that slot between when we're doing our little draw and discard in the first 3 turns of the game and turn 5 when we can start reanimating things out of our graveyard. Sheoldred gives the opponent something to worry about immediately on turn 4, as it's kind of a must-answer card. So we hope that they sort of burn through some of their removal, some of their attention, maybe their counterspells, on old Sheoldred here before we can graveyard shift out the backbreaking thing that's going to win us the game. We've also got a fun copy of Runo Stromkirk in here. I've always wanted to try to flip Runo in Standard, and this is finally the deck I've gotten away with it in, which is kind of surprising. No Krakens, no Octopi in here, but kind of fun nonetheless. So to get some draw and discard in the early game, we're running 4 Evangel of Synthesis to do a little bit of looting, Tainted Indulgence to do the same thing, just draw a few more cards. Classic Kaito Shizuki is back to do a little bit of looting. We rarely make a ninja. It's kind of irrelevant. I suppose we could emblem if we really get that far, but really he's just kind of an enabler and another attention grabber for our opponents. One of the Celestus, because it ramps us and also does a little bit of looting. And then we're doing Graveyard Shift as our reanimation spell, because it can have flash if we get the right stuff in the graveyard. And then new card, Black Sun's Twilight from Phyrexia, All Will Be One. Now, this is sort of a flexible spot. It acts as a little bit of removal if we really need it to, and then if we can get X up to 5 or more, we can return a creature card with X or less from our graveyard to the battlefield. It is tapped, and if we want to recur any of our gigantic targets, it does need to be up pretty high. So this is much more of a late-game option for reanimation if we do make it that far. On the flip side, though, we can bring back Sheoldred the Apocalypse or Evangel of Synthesis if we just need to remove an opposing Sheoldred, for example. We can get back one of our smaller early creatures and then go on from there. So anyway, I enjoyed bringing old Toxrill out of retirement for a few more games, so let's go see a few games with him on the ranked standard ladder. I'll be with you for some commentary, but as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Let's give this a keep. A little on the expensive side, but we got to remember we can play the Fleshgorger for a little bit less. Excellent, we draw the 3rd land. Kaito as well can get us out of a lowland situation. Opponent on green and white. This could be that green and white Selesnya toxic deck. Well, let's get our loot going with old Kaito here. Discard the Dusk Mangler. Well, yeah. We're going to be able to discard Toxrill again. Or not again. Before we get up to Graveyard Shift is what I mean. And I'd kind of rather not expose Toxrill until just before we want to reanimate him, just in case they can pull him out of our graveyard. Let's see. I suppose we should draw here. We need to kind of guarantee land number 5. Excellent. There it is. Toxrill in the graveyard. And let's do a little hand waving over here, trying to distract with this Phyrexian Fleshgorger. Meow. Pays 3 life, sacrifices the Liberator. Get rid of the Fleshgorger that way. Opponent going for the double Gala Greeters. And they decide for the treasure token. Could get in for one at Kaito here, and they do. Oh, we keep hitting the reanimation targets, don't we? Okay, well, we can't flash Graveyard Shift yet, so we may just have to go for it. But let's see what we've got off the top here. All right, Jin in the graveyard. Let's go for Graveyard Shift. I still think Toxrill is probably going to be the best against this deck. We've seen nothing but tiny creatures so far. And the Toxfather himself gives us a couple of slugs in exchange. All right, opponent with the 3/3 toxic creature. We will make it slightly smaller. I've been trying to work that spell into my bombardment decks. All right, good game. Back here for another one. We've got our fun copy of Runo Stromkirk in our opening hand. Let's see if we can make that work. Opponent with a mountain. And a Kumano faces Kakazan. Let's go ahead and get Lounge going before we need quick access to all of our mana. Turn 3. We'll see if we need Kaito to loot something away. Oh, we have another Fleshgorger. That's actually probably not too bad against mono red. Well, I'll tell you what, we don't have any reanimator spells besides this Black Sun, so let's start looting. We're going to draw and discard. Opponent will hit Kaito with a lightning strike, but he's still around because we plussed him. We will discard the Fleshgorger, great thing to put back on top with old Runo Stromkirk here, before we can flip it into Crothus. One of those two. Land number 4. Let's do another draw and discard with Kaito. Let's get rid of the Lounge because we need this untapped land for later. And Runo may perish here, but a fine blocker, and we get to put Fleshgorger back on the top. So if he survives, we're going to flip him. Okay, opponent with Urabrask's Forge. I really like that card. Gives some nice inevitability to the red deck. Yeah, I guess we'll let Kaito go here.
Oh, there will be a next time.
All right, let's reveal. All right, he's flipped over. Let's see if we can hang on to him. So the way he works is when we attack, we get to copy a creature we control. So let's get this Fleshgorger in play. That's going to be a great creature to copy. Gain us some life. Really put us out of reach of this mechanized warfare that the opponent's got going. What is this? All right, that's just going to add some oil counters here. Just. Yeah, I say we take this. We're set to gain 6 life when we attack next turn. Oh, and that goes back to the hand, too. Kind of annoying, but I think we'll be all right here. So, just a Kaito down there. Let's go ahead and do our attacks. We get a free copy of Fleshgorger. Now, the nice thing here is it sticks around. We'll play Sheoldred, keep building this board up. Lots of things that mono red does not want to see right now. Opponent at 4 mana, hand full of options. We'll see what they go with here. We'll play the Sprinter. Decides to put more counters onto the Forge. And so the Forge will create a larger creature. Well, if that's all they're attacking with, pretty sure we can afford to take 8 here. Forge goes away, and Sprinter, a blocker, goes back to the hand, and our opponent can't block these menaced Fleshgorgers either. So we're going to gain 2 off of this draw from Sheoldred, go back up to 11, and we're set to gain another 9 from another copy of the Fleshgorger, but just to make things interesting. Yeah, you know what? Let's not be that guy. That's not who we are. Let's copy the Fleshgorger, though, and send everybody in. Opponent blocks Kumano, but that should be just enough. All right. They're going to bolt Sheoldred, which is enough to take care of that, but we get in for more than enough. Good game. We're going to go with this hand. We've got a nice Kaito to start us off drawing and discarding. A couple of reanimation targets. So we're just looking for a reanimation spell here. Let's get this lounge down now as kind of an investment for our future. And our opponent has the Churning Reservoir over here. So it looks like they can make a goblin when something loses an oil counter. Not as familiar with that one. All right, land number 2. Not much more exciting from us at the moment. Opponent sporting a 3-color Phyrexian oil deck. Let's get an untapped land into play so we can immediately Kaito. Nice thing about plussing Kaito right away is we can sometimes keep him out of range of opposing lightning strikes and that kind of thing. But they will get a chance to respond here if they've got something that can take him out right now. Opponent having a nice think. Goes with Serum Snare. Kind of a boomerang-like return to the hand effect with a proliferate attached, but no counters on anything yet to worry about. Took that opportunity to get Jin-Gitaxias in the graveyard. That feels like one of the best things against this deck, since they're probably going to be trying to play more artifacts. Let's get our island down, play a little Sheoldred. Get them to spend their removal on this if they want to. There it is, Infernal Grasp. Makes it that much more difficult to target Jin-Gitaxias if we can get this graveyard shift to work. Opponent with land number 5 and just passes here, so let's play an untapped land. And do we just go for it? We think they have the counter. Let's just go for it. If we can get a Jin out, it's going to nullify a lot of what our opponent, or what I think they have. Okay, no response. So they're going to need 2 removal spells if they want to get rid of this, since Jin will counter the first one that they play. Okay, Corpse Appraiser. Probably going to hit Sheoldred from us, yes. That will draw them a card, as the Appraiser has a look under the sheets over there. We draw a second Toxrill. I think we're probably safe to get in with Jin. He's got a little built-in protection from spells. Okay. And let's play this untapped land. We can think about cycling this lounge and keeping up the Black Sun Zenith for later. Puts an oil counter on the Appraiser. Looks like they're digging around in our graveyard. I wonder if they have a second Appraiser. Okay, we pick up an untapped land. Let's play that. I was kind of hanging on to the lounge in case we didn't draw anything. That way we could guarantee casting Toxrill. All right. Opponent targets Jin with a bounce spell. He's going to counter that. That means they've probably got a follow-up here, so let's see what's going on. Vampiric Vengeance. All right, you got it. Let's, this is an instant, so let's hit their creature. I think their plan is to block. And sure, yeah, make a copy. It'll at least keep Jin alive, is the plan. All right, no follow-up there. Okay, opponent down to 6. We're going to need a little more gas if we want to try to finish our opponent next turn. All right. There's a creature with an oil counter. Another Corpse Appraiser. That will get him a look at the top. You see they lost a cut down over there. Not really good against us so much. Okay, and they pass. Well, I think the safe bet here is Toxrill. If he lives, we'll immediately get a slug out of the small red creature. Any response? No? All right, so that's one slug here. And they will create a goblin as the oil counter got, I guess, technically removed from that creature. All right, so the plan is... Oh, it's new Kaito.
Stick close, stay quiet, and we'll be fine.
That is a lot of text on one planeswalker. All right.
I can run circles around you.
So no real big fireworks finish strategy here. Just going to wear him down with Toxrill. And that's enough to do the job. Good game. This is an interesting one. Let's keep this. Been wanting to try out these Evangels. Hopefully we can draw an untapped land, get one down immediately on turn 2 here, but that is what I'm hoping for to dig us out of this 2-land opener we've got here. Unfortunately, just a second copy of Jin. Opponent on green and black. Let's get the Evangel down. There's land number 3, and we can take this opportunity to get Jin into the graveyard. Opponent has no trouble finding land number 3, so let's see what we've got. Sheoldred's Edict is going to take care of our Evangel, and they follow up with the little Death Touch toxic creature, and that just has reach. Okay. Still learning all the new cards here. Shipwreck Marsh, a good pickup for us. Get the Celestus down, and then we can use that extra mana to play our remaining Evangel. Discard. Discard Jin. Was thinking about holding on to him, but we're still a little ways off of 7 mana. There's not a huge amount of lands in this deck, so it's not a guarantee in 2 turns. All right, let's draw. We'll take 2 from Sheoldred. And we remain at 5 mana, so a little bit short if we want to do Black Sun's Twilight onto Sheoldred. Well, we'll pay 1 life for this card instead of 2 and get Mangler down. And I think we've got enough mana to do Black Sun's Twilight on Sheoldred in the future. The sacrifice effect off a Dusk Mangler not going to be too helpful in this particular case, as they can just let go of one of their tiny creatures, keep around the best one. Well, let's get rid of their Death Toucher I mean, the small one, not Sheoldred. We don't want to give them a good rate of return on blocking our eventual reanimation targets. The viral spawning's going to give them a 3/3 toxic creature as they play another one with reach. Let's decline on this. I don't want to take too much more damage from Sheoldred, and we're getting a little bit low. All right. Well, I know this is an instant, but let's do this now. Just Evangel for us. The Black Sun's Twilight is not like the Green Sun's Twilight. You need X to be at least as much as the thing you want to reanimate, whereas the Green Sun, X is really only the number of cards you get to see. You get to pick any one of those cards, no matter what X is. For the green one, I mean. All right, we take a little bit of poison counters, a little bit of damage. We get another poison counter as they proliferate. All right, well, we've got reanimation. Jin, I think, is going to give us the best odds. So with Jin out, if Jin survives, we can start doubling up on the Black Sun's Zenith. Oh, a Rot Priest. Okay. Rot Priest number 2, I should say. So we draw a second Black Sun's Twilight. Let's pass. This is an instant after all. Gain a little bit of life from the Celestus. I think we just probably discard this lounge. I kind of want to use all of our mana this turn. All right, Jin will counter the viral spawning. Yes, I think that is all right. Let's see, we've got, let me count this mana here. We've got still just X is 5 for this Black Sun's Twilight. All right, they get another Death Toucher onto the board. As they come across with double Rot Priests and that 3/3 with Toxic. Let's copy this with Jin and just see how this works. We will auto-pay. Jin will copy that spell. So this will automatically get back the Evangel that's hiding in our graveyard. Evangel draws us a card. Think we can... Well, nope, had to think about that. Let's get rid of the Tainted Indulgence. We may need some of this life back, and so this Fleshgorger is going to help with that. Although the incremental advantage from the Celestus is really nice as we gain 1 life at a time. Let's discard that Indulgence, and now we are up to 2 Fleshgorgers in hand. So I think let's get in with these. We've drawn an extra card, so they've got Menace. If they really want to double up on them, I'm happy to get rid of that Death Toucher again. It is a fair trade when we want to be attacking with Fleshgorgers and Toxrill. So let's get a basic version of this down. Jin will copy it, and we'll be in great shape for blocking this turn and attacking next turn. If we can draw an untapped land, we can get the big version of the Fleshgorger and really go to town. All right, another Death Toucher. Really cramping the style of these big creatures who want to get in here. All right, opponent considers their options. We pick up a Sheoldred. Think it makes sense to get some attacks going here, and that's too much. Good game. Okay, back for another one. We've got 3 lands, Kaito, a reanimation spell, and a reanimation target. You can't ask for much more than that in a deck like this. Land number 2 as our opponent retains priority. Ooh, and starts us immediately off with a poison counter. And they are in black as well, so looks like they're going to try to poison us out of the game. Let's try to get Kaito down here. Let's see if they have a 2-mana counterspell. Alright, they let Kaito through, or they don't have the spell. Let's draw and discard. Alright, and we'll get rid of Jin. If this is what I think it is, then Jin is going to be the target for us to get back, as they are going to be primarily spell-based, trying to get proliferate effects, like that one, where the incremental benefit they get off of each spell is going to kind of slowly wear us out of the game. So they can focus mainly on controlling the board and count on the proliferate bonus to actually do the job of winning the game. So let's get Sheoldred down. Attract a little bit of attention as we are 1 turn away from reanimation happening. Sure, that is fine. Opponent gets in for 2 with the flyer and gives us our 3rd poison counter. So that is the threshold for a lot of their cards. Going to be able to draw cheaply and counter more effectively. So let's hope they don't have the counter for this. They do. Reject Imperfection. We'll just counter that outright and proliferate. I was going to say, where's our 4th counter? No, it only proliferates if it's a cheap spell, if it's 3 or less. This attack for 2, however, brings us up to 4. Let's get Sheoldred down to block, and then we can maybe use the remaining 2 mana to do a Tainted Indulgence. Alright, they're going to prologue. That's going to bring us to 5. If we can get some more mana going... Toxrill actually might be a really good play here to get rid of these tiny creatures. Sure. Let's go to attacks. Alright, so they're going to get in. We're going to have to put Sheoldred in front of that one. We take another 2, and we are up to 6 poison counters. Okay. Oh, and another Skull Dweller. Alright. Untapped land. Oh. Tekuthal the Inquiry Dominus. Great. Let's get rid of the Dusk Mangler. Tainted Indulgence finds us an untapped land. Of course, we draw another one. Toxrill going to help us the most here. So that gets rid of the toxic creatures. We get a few slugs. Unfortunately, they still have that Dominus. Okay. A creature, but no spell. Tekuthal around, that makes all of their proliferate spells proliferate even more. As they Fading Hope Toxrill. Well, Dusk Mangler can no longer get rid of the Dominus, since they have a cheap flyer to sacrifice instead. Yeah, let's get in with these slugs. I want to kind of see if they're working with a Serum Snare or something like that. They block. We'll try to replay Toxrill here. And it lands. Alright, so 1 more counter. Makes the Dominus slightly smaller. Oh, opponent with a nice cheap draw spell, since we are so very poisoned. Decides not to attack, though. Alright, a duplicate Toxrill. Let's get in with the attacks. See if they've got anything. blocks the slug and takes 7 from Toxrill. Let's go land Kaito here. Okay, I'm suspicious of counterspells. So they thirst and draw 2.
If the powerful won't help, I'll do it myself.
And let's do a little draw and discard.
There's
Okay.
no secret I
Well, let's
can't
see what we got down here. We got Jin and a Mangler. I think we Jin. So Toxrill takes care of the Dominus, and Jin is going to help insulate us from some of their spells. Unfortunately, they're so cheap now. So Jin counters the card draw spell. They've got 3 cards left in hand. All right, I'm glad that Dominus is gone. They pick up a prologue, so that takes us up to 7, and we got there. Excellent. Good game.